Hello, everyone out there. Welcome to today's discussion. I have a bunch of awesome coaches on today. Desiree and I do. And I'm just going to let them introduce themselves. I'll tell you, we're here for a couple of reasons. One, we have a really interesting discussion topic, and we hope that you out there get some value and get some education from listening to us talk about something. And also, we are coaches who are here to serve people, and we will market our services mostly through linking to our Facebook pages and linking to sign-up forms, which you'll have those links in the comments below. So keep an eye out for those. And so we'll have a few seconds to introduce ourselves, and we'll start with Ruan.
Hey everybody, I'm Ruan. I help people create their realities. I coach and also the co-founder of Really Cool Dragon Media. We make personal development media for badasses. And I've done other things too, but that's me in a nutshell.
Nice, thank you. Chantel.
I'm Chantel. I created earthbasedmom.com. It's a blog where I blog about parenting and pregnancy and natural childbirth. And I'm also a coach for women in the realm of health and pregnancy, parenting, empowerment, etc.
Awesome. Des?
My name's Desiree, and I work with workaholics and help them find their power couple and connect to people in a more authentic way. I have a lot of experience through the sales and consulting and business, and I've been able to take the ability to be successful in sales and consulting and actually apply it to the personal lives as well. And then so you can have a passion and power and more in all aspects of your life cross-contextually.
Awesome. My name is Keith, and I am a relationship and intimacy coach with over 3,000 hours of one-on-one coaching, and have taught over 1,000 students from the front of the room. I am interested in primarily coaching men and also couples, and I mostly help people communicate with themselves and understand more about themselves, and spend long-term amounts of time with them to help them break down your conditioning so that you can actually have a fulfilled life. All right, so now that you've met us, we're actually going to talk about, I'm going to introduce the topic. We're going to talk about futility and what it's like to encounter that feeling in your life. Who wants to kind of start off their ideas about what this topic is for them, and maybe even just say a little bit about what it is?
Yeah, I have a bunch of thoughts. The big thing, I think on the broad end, really zooming out, I think anyone who pursues a creative path of any sort will hit this eventually, because when you're dealing with something as vulnerable as your creative expression and going off of the charted path, it's you're gonna hit these spots where you're like, how did I end up here? I keep doing this, I keep pushing the boulder up the hill and it's not working. This worked last year, how come it's not feeling fulfilling? And I think that happens often. So I'm no stranger to periods of futility. I could go into instances, but that's my broad view, and I think everyone who goes off on their own will experience it at times.
Right, it's actually part of the process. I think a lot of times it's easy to think that we continually go on the up, but it's actually part of the process. And being in it rather than fighting it is actually what helps me personally, which is super hard to remember, because when you're in it, you don't want to be in it, and it's uncomfortable. But I think to the degree that we're able to let ourselves feel that will be how well we can come out of it.
Yeah, as you were talking, Chantel, I was thinking of the acronym in sales, which is KISS. It's keep it simple, stupid. And it's that idea that when you get to a place of futility, that KISS concept it feels futile. You're oh, what am I doing? How can I keep staying here? And our ego gets in the way. And so then we think that we're doing something that's futile, when really we're just going back to that process of staying in it and remembering that that's what we need to do to keep moving forward. So even movement can feel futile in that sense.
Yeah, it's funny because I don't know about you guys, but I've been giving a bunch of talks over the last couple of months. I've been posting, and there's definitely I keep encountering people who are interested or who, feel like they're engaged in what I have to say. And yet they're, the like rest of the process, I reach out, I say, hey, this is what's next. And there's just no response. It's just like sending messages out, in bottles out into the ocean. And it's like the first 5 times you're like, yeah, I'm gathering. So, the next 5 times I'm like, is there something about me or how I'm presenting this? The next 5 times you're like, do people even want to hear this? And so it's like 20 times in, or like, over and over again, where I'm giving talks and I'm changing titles and copy and like really trying to attract somebody interested and different, and having one person show up or no people show up or 2 people show up, and
Yeah.
just like really having that experience of what am I doing? I'm like 6 weeks into this and I've got 0 like genuine, like anyone that's gone any farther down the path of like, yeah, here's my information, call me. And then, and then just like, what is in this for me? Like, what am I going to learn from this particular spot in the process?
I think, it's that feeling of like, I'm doing all the things right. Why isn't anybody hearing me? Am I speaking the wrong language? And how is it serving me? And the thing that I think, like, it's just going back to, are the basics futile? Like, is that actually futile? Or is it that for me, I notice I start to spin on what I'm supposed to be doing when I get away from the basics and I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to try this and I'm going to try that and I'm going to try that. And that's actually where the futility starts, where it's like nothing's actually happening. And it's really like making myself come back to that simplicity, and refocusing and actually practicing the thing that I know worked in the past without any of the other stuff like that distracts from it.
Yeah. I love that. It reminds me of getting sick. Like when you get like physically ill, it's like a reminder, like, oh, let's stop doing a bunch of things we tried to do and like remember to drink water and
Right.
eat your vegetables and sleep 8 hours. Like it forces you back to simplicity of like life basics. And like with work, it's the same thing. Like there were probably things that got you up to the point that you can do things, and now you're trying to do too many things. And really hits home because I feel like around this time every year, like my birthday just passed, I always kind of crash a little bit because I'm trying to like have all these intentions. I want to do this and that and this and that, and I kind of just.
Oh yeah, anniversaries are killer for this.
Yeah.
Any significant anniversary is going to be that same exact thing, because you like look back and take stock, and then all the what didn't happen kind of weighs on you. But
why do we do that to ourselves? Like, why do we like not celebrate all the things that we actually did good on that like worked, instead of like looking back over and saying like, oh, I didn't actually, that seems futile to me.
We were just talking the other day how like so I have my blog, my website, and it's like I built this platform, but then I just abandon it or don't do anything, and because I'm like, oh, but I want to do this, I want to do this.
You want to start a new website from scratch.
Right. Well, I always want to start new websites from scratch. And like this thing over here isn't working, so like I end up spreading my energy so thin into all these other little projects that never really. And it's like, oh, why not just like really focus and put all of my energy into the thing that is working right now?
Oh yeah, that's good potency.
Yeah.
Well, it's too funny because, I texted Chantel the other day and I was like, how are you doing? She's like, I'm great. And I was like, she's like, how are you? I'm like, I'm pretty good. Like, I feel really good, but I'm not making any, like, I feel like really scarce around money right now. And she's like, oh yeah, that's exactly where I am. And I was like, oh, that feels like the same thing over and over again. Like every time I'm talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And so then it's like a little crazy making. So yeah, like this inventory taking of like where I should be versus where I am, instead of like celebrating our progress and our success, right?
But it's good too, because I think that's the point where like if you put all of this energy into something and it feels futile and you're like not making any progress or money or whatever, I think that's the point when you were talking about someone would go back to their 9-to-5 job that they hate just for the security.
Right.
So it's like, having the faith to keep going.
Well, and there's futility in going back to the 9-to-5 job too, because you're not actually going, like, you're not completing the whole cycle of like doing the thing that you want to do, and like, which is staying in it even when there is not massive success, you know? So like how long do you stay in it and still feel like you're not going back to the thing that you just tried to get out of?
Right. Well, I mean, but people do give up on their purpose all the time in this spot, right, Rohan?
Right.
Yeah.
Is that what?
I was going to jump in and talk about energy because I was thinking about all the things you were saying about like how you feel and like the basics. Like everyone like has like a calling into their thing, right? Like there's like some experience where you got like validated before you started your website or your business. Like it's like, oh, this is my thing. Like it feels so good. I don't even care if I make money doing it. Like I just want to do this thing. It feels so good. And like the return on your investment of attention is it feels good. You don't care about anything else. Then try to make it into a business or try to get the masses to validate your thing. And I think that's where the pressure comes in. And simplicity, I'm actually realizing this while we're talking, like going back to that place where you're getting that intrinsic value of doing the thing. Like just the fact of like talking to people at an event feels good, or like writing a post feels good. It's not because I have to, because the audience expects me to.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I was like watching a coaching seminar one time, and they were saying like, don't do the things that don't feel good. Like only like don't do it unless it feels good, because mostly like people will feel that and they'll feel, and then they won't want to actually work with you anyway.
Yeah, I've noticed all my blog posts that get the most attention are the ones that it's like an idea hits me and it like falls from the sky and just like out through my fingers. I'm not in control at all. And then the ones that feel really forced don't do as well.
Yeah, this topic actually came up because we were trying to like talk about something else, and we're like, wah, 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 and like, yeah, we know the structure, and then it was like, God, this all feels so futile. Yeah, futility, that's the thing. That's what's happening for all of us right now.
It was such a funny thing to be lit up around too, right? I'm curious, like, how do you guys, like, what do you do to reconnect to your why, or like your spirit or your purpose, or like the thing?
I was thinking that because after my last birthday last year, it was like one of the most futile points in my life. Like I basically jettisoned my entire coaching business to take a stab at working in film. Didn't work out. I didn't work for like, I didn't earn income for 6 months because working on this film project. So I moved back in with my folks. I was like, I don't have a business anymore. I have no clients. Like, so I was driving a cab for a while. And I was just like, and I turned 28, I was just like, maybe this is just my life. But what if I stop like having ambition? Yeah. And just like was a cab driver in New York, and that was just my life. And how could I have the most fun doing that? And I did that for like 2 months of like not trying to do anything. And suddenly I got this huge download of what I want to do next. And I launched a new business with a friend in September, and it did really well. And like, I needed that space to like not put pressure on myself, to be like Winnie the Pooh and just like eat honey and travel the earth.
Nice.
It's my favorite animal for stuff like this.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was talking about earlier. Like whenever you are really down and things feel hopeless, that's actually when I get the most inspiration. It's like if I stop putting force and pressure on myself to do something, then if I slow down, so slowing down I would say is the answer to the question. If I slow down and enough to like hear a message that wants to be received, then yeah, eventually I get some inspiration in some way. It's like, it's the thinking that, oh, I need to do something. I need to like make something work. That's whenever it gets like really stagnant. It's like, you can't think your way out of anything, you know?
Yeah. And I think material actions, like really simple, I don't want to say, well, I guess, yeah, blue collar labor feels good to my brain. I know when I'm feeling overwhelmed, like on Monday, I built a desk and night tables, and I was so, she didn't understand. I was so excited to like hammer nails into wood. Like, that's just what I want to do. I could just let my brain chill out and like breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keith, I remember like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was feeling like really stagnant and like just couldn't, like my mind was just fogged. Like I could not actually reach any kind of inspiration. And I went and helped my friend with her cleaning business. She does like move out cleanings. And I literally just scrubbed kitchens for like 8 hours a day, like 3 days in a row. And all of a sudden, like all these people were calling me and I was getting prospects in, and like I was feeling inspired to write, and I was like turned on about videos, and I was like, holy cow, like just going out and like scrubbing somebody's like nasty stove actually moved the thing. What's that? It was like strangely satisfying. And then I also just, if I don't have a stove to scrub, like for me, usually it's because I move really fast, like just my personality type is to like move very fast. And like the more energy I put out, the more energy I generate. So for me, it's actually like to go and exercise or like move really fast or like have sex or dance, rather than like if I slow down, like that's where I get stagnant. So I actually have to like burn it off to like get to the inspiration below.
Well, it's like being in your body rather than your head.
Yeah.
Hey, just curious, would you guys all consider yourselves like overextenders by nature? Like, do you have to, Chantel? Like, I know those two are. You are?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, I'm the only natural underextender on the call. Okay.
Well, I feel like in the past I might have said I'm an underextender, and I feel like lately, like this part of my life, since becoming a mom, I feel like I overextend.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because you don't. There isn't the option.
I know, like whereas before I was too chill, like everything was super slow. I took my time. Now I feel like I can't settle down sometimes.
I mean, that's the challenge that I've had in the last few weeks. After I like decompressed from my last job, I was like, oh, and now I'm like just having a hard time getting up off the floor. And like, how can I slow down enough to allow for that thing that you were talking about earlier? But still keep a certain kind of movement in my life so that I don't fully just devolve into a useless blob, basically. And practices were kind of my answer for that spot, which is like, I want to go slow. I want to give myself a lot of room. I was in a really intense job for a long time. I was working 100 hours a week for many years. And so like, I definitely need more space and more self-care. And like, how and when does that devolve into just like, just like fully not moving.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to talk, like, basically the answer to that for me was practices, like writing practices and meditation practices.
I get just like, not only do I do the like overextending, is that what you're saying? Is like, I actually get hard on myself for not overextending even more, because like I feel like I overextend in the things that are futile. Like I spin on things that don't actually, getting back to the topic kind of is like, I actually overextend in the places that don't actually produce results for me, because they're not the simple basic thing that comes back to like, drink water when you're sick and run and exercise, eat well, like, and so then when I'm doing, like I'm overextending in those areas and like my energy is being put into those areas, then I'm even harder on myself because I'm like, oh, I'm not doing enough.
I think that's a good one too. Like, I don't know, for you guys, it's like, I just want to highlight the spot of like, where we rely on something instead of actually looking at, is this the right thing? Like you just brought up sex, and it's like, oh, is sex the thing that's actually going to like ignite me, or is it the thing that I'm going to for comfort? And it could be, different answer.
When is it draining?
Yeah. And like, what are the things that you might go to in a place of feeling like there's a certain amount of futility in your life for comfort, whereas in other places in your life they might actually be generative. Do you have any of those?
Yeah,
Really?
I mean, I think sex is a question like that I think often, like, am I doing this because I'm so abundant and I have the afternoon free and this is what's going to generate more creativity tomorrow, or am I just doing it because I don't want to like do it?
Yeah.
It's tough. It's like not like a rule around it. It's like paying attention. It's tough.
Speaking towards the mom thing too, because I have two little ones, and I often like feel like if I haven't had enough time with them, then I feel empty or drained. And then am I doing that? Like, am I cuddling with the boys and having a slow afternoon with them, like as a comfort thing, or am I doing it so that I can like make myself slow back down and like and recharge and regenerate? And so it's like actually slowing down with them, which is even more energy because they don't want to slow down. You know, it's like making me realize like, oh, we all need to go hiking instead, or like go play and like run their energy out so that I can have more energy and more, nourishment.
Yeah, and it could be as simple as like if you feel sleepy afterwards, maybe.
Right. That's what I was going to say is like, how does it make you feel after? I think, like, for example, when I talk about pleasure a lot of times, it's easy to just be like, oh, like, I get to feel pleasure. Pleasure's okay, so I'm just going to indulge in all these things and make me feel pleasurable. But, like, you can tell, like, eating 3 donuts might feel pleasurable, but afterwards you're not going to feel very good. So it's like, how does it, like, what's the result or the effect after? Same with sex, I would say, like, do you just want to fall asleep or do you want to go right now or whatever?
Right.
I think to touch on the mom thing too, like, it's super easy for moms to use their kids as an excuse to stay in that space. Because like no one's going to argue with you if you're like, oh, I got to be with my kids, because it's a super comfortable, like, cozy place to be, to just like chill out and not do anything with your kids. And I think it's really easy to get sucked into that. And I just think that's like something to be aware of too, because it's easy because no one's going to argue with you. Like no one's going to like hold you accountable or be like, actually, no, you shouldn't hang out with your kids. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say as someone who doesn't have kids, I found it a very simplifying and fun activity to hang out with someone else's kids, because they just like they're so simple and they have no like there's no goal with hanging out with a child.
Right.
And then like keep it alive,
It makes me think of like maybe the thing that makes it easier and like flow is that there's actually no goal, and the futility is actually working towards the goal rather than just focusing on the moment and like the next right step.
Yeah. When I feel like in an existential crisis, like doing the thing, like reminding myself like, oh, the thing that I want to do with my existence is read a book or have sex or build a thing or hang out with a kid. Like, and like, that is it. Like, that's, that's the thing that's so rewarding. I guess that goes back to the intrinsic thing too. Yeah.
Oh, hi, Lucy.
I have a very vocal deaf cat in the room that I didn't realize was in here with me.
Oh, that was a cat. I thought it was Desiree's kids.
Oh. No, 2 little boys are much louder than that. Yeah, it's just it makes me think of the all of a sudden I was like, oh, it's futile because I'm attached to like what it's supposed to look like at the end rather than like the bigger picture.
Yeah. Yeah, life's about doing stuff for fun. Yeah.
And I think my children are the best teachers ever. Like any kind of like situation that comes up with them, they're like, there's always something that's like, yes, that absolutely applies to everything in life. You should do that the way that a child does.
They put you in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where all the gold is, I guess.
I think that feels like a great place for us to land. I think our discussion has peaked for today. Yeah.
Feels good.
Any last words before we say goodbye?
This is fun. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Stay tuned for the next random conversation that we have.
All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Ruan and Chantel, for coming on with us today. And we will see y'all on the interwebs. Bye.